do what you can do consistently. If you can post Monday and Thursday and that's it without having a meltdown and a panic attack, stick to that.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast. And on this week's Property Education Masterclass, we're with the social media man himself, Mr. Kieran Kevan. Now guys, it's 2024. If you do not have visibility on social media, your business, your brand is going to be non-existent. Love it or hate it, it's a necessary evil that you have to embrace and get involved with. And this man today is going to give you all of the tips, tricks, and insights into how you can build your own personal brand. This is a really exciting episode. You need to stick around and listen to the entire thing. Trust me on this. Guys, if you get knowledge from this episode, if you get inspired from this episode, if this episode helps to kickstart your own personal entrepreneurial journey, I would ask you to please follow the show and please leave us a review. It helps us so much with visibility and allows us to continue to put out this amazing free content. If you've got any questions around property or around service accommodation, pop those questions in the review. We'll pull out the review and read your question out on our midweek show, the Airbnb Nomads Toolbox, and answer that question. Also give you a shout out on the show. Until then, guys, settle in. You're going to learn so much in this episode. I can't wait for you to hear it. Here we go. Kieran, thanks for coming, mate.
I've made it.
Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your time. We had a phone call a couple of weeks ago now, I think.
Yeah.
I was put in touch with you by a good friend of mine. I was looking for some marketing advice, some social media optimization on my profiles, and you were recommended. We had a call, and I've got to say, I was so impressed with your knowledge and your enthusiasm and your energy.
Yeah.
I just thought I got to get you on the podcast because yes, we're a property podcast, but whether it's property, whether it's real estate in general, whether it's tech, whether it's clothing, you've got to have brand, you've got to have visibility on social media. You've got to understand marketing. And, in the market that we're in, service accommodation, we work a lot with our mentees around social media, around building a brand, around being consistent on your various social media handles, but it's so hard to get them to stay consistent. I don't think people truly understand the power of where we are today and, more importantly, where we're heading with the power of technology. So I think this episode is going to be really, really valuable to everybody listening and watching at home while we try and pull as many nuggets out of that big fat brain of yours as possible. So thanks again for coming on. So I think I'll just open with, Kieran, what is brand?
Well, big question. First of all, thank you for having me on. Much appreciated. And social media is 100% the number one marketing tool that everyone should be using. But we'll go straight into that question of what is brand or the power of brand. Brand is what you think of first because your audience is constantly in a consideration phase. Or you should say probably 95% of your audience are in a consideration phase. So they're considering buying. It's like what we spoke about prior coming into here is when you're on a call and you're qualifying people, are they ready to make that purchase? They will be, but when is the right time for them? And 5% are in that buying phase. But how do you stay front of mind when they are ready to buy? That's the biggest thing. And social is going to be your number one tool to go to market with because that's the easiest way. The average person now will scroll every day the length of the Eiffel Tower on their phone, which is wild.
I remember you saying that to me and I couldn't quite believe it. Is that true?
That's a 100% statistic that was brought out early last year from a big social media conglomerate about what we're doing on our phones. Apple released very similar data as well.
That's absolutely crazy and actually quite disturbing. But I will say, I'm on the phone a lot. I'm on the laptop a lot. I'm posting a lot. I'm engaging with other people's comments a lot. I'm trying to drive that visibility always towards our business and our brand.
Yeah.
And, I try and justify it in my head by saying, it's work-related stuff. I don't spend a lot of time scrolling through mindless bullshit. Yes, I do occasionally when I just want to switch off the brain and you just mong out. I think everybody does that. But when I get those daily reports from the iPhone that says, your screen time is 5 hours, 6 hours, 7, I've had it up to 8 hours before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. And then you see the stuff on social media, sometimes you see the posts where they kind of add it all up and they say, you're going to spend 15 years of your life looking at the screen.
Yeah.
And it's a real wake up call. But what can you do? That's the power of it. You need to be doing this stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the realization that we need to know, that like social is so important, and big companies are taking note of that, ones that we never really used to see online that really thought brand was important. You're seeing big companies like banking, for example, really big social presence now, or really big aim to have a big social presence. Yeah. And that's the power of brand, because it's the power of, yes, the customers probably in the 95 consideration phase and 5% are buying, but staying at the front of mind is really important. So how do you stay front of mind? It's having the latest campaign. It's having the most powerful social media presence. It's having the humanity of the human feel on the other side of social. So a great example of that would be Monzo Bank.
Yep.
I could go out and say that like LinkedIn is amazing.
I think I saw an interview with the guy that started Monzo a little while ago. Is that the guy? He wasn't in banking. He knew nothing about banking. And he went to investors and said, I want to start an online bank. And they just laughed him out of the room.
I'm pretty sure, because it is 100% online. Yeah. And they know who their target market is, because you can see it, who they're speaking to on their socials. You can see how they've cleverly written their captions and asked certain questions around like Gen Z and millennial, mostly most focused demographic. And it flies, and it's funny. And like, I have nothing to do with them. I don't have work for them. I don't bank with them. I don't do anything with them. But that's a brand that came straight to me. Yeah. So if I do ever look at open another account, front of mind is Monzo Bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Now look, you're a young guy. How old are you? 20?
I'm 30.
You're 30?
I am,
Holy
yeah.
Shit.
Don't take back
the fountain of youth.
Don't take it back. You said it now.
Hey, you look good. You look good for 30. But anyway, you're still young. I would give a kidney to be 30. But how did you learn this world? I feel quite, not jealous, but envious of the younger generation today who have the brains and the understanding and to look ahead and say, okay, this is the future, right? And they educate themselves. They go into this world and they know that learning social media, learning content, learning online marketing is the future. And they educate themselves on that because the world is going to be at their fingertips. Yeah. How did you learn this business, and how did you kind of decide that this was the way to go?
Yeah, great question. How long do you want this answer to be?
5 minutes max.
Okay.
It's too much else to cover.
We'll make it shorter. So I fell into the world of social through when I used to compete in men's physique and bodybuilding. So when I was like an athlete, and that was like my whole thing, I had a decent personal brand on like Instagram. And that's how I built up that following, was through competing. And I worked for my sponsors at the time, TNT Supplements, who sponsored me, and we used to go to all the different events, and you do like a lot of public events, like public appearances and things like that, which would gain more traction. But unfortunately, when I went to the World Championships in Boston in 2017, I did win. Fantastic. Come back, world champion, best film in the world.
World champion in men's fitness physique.
You can say it again if you want, yeah. Damn. Back in the day, which was great. And we went on tour to Dubai for a week for Dubai Muscle Show, and we went to a few other events as well. Came back, and I ended up injuring myself. I slipped both my discs, my lower back, so that's career over, done. And my sponsors basically said, we can't pay you what we did anymore because you're not an athlete. You're not carrying that. You will carry that trophy for the next year, but you're probably never going to compete again, and you can't do the shows. You're not going to have the same physique, and that's absolutely fine and fair. But what they did notice was I was very good at social. And I understood the algorithms, I understood how to grow mine. And they're like, if you can do that for yours, can you do that for ours? Or continue that? So I started doing that and working in it. And this is 2017. So I'm really pushing it now. It's starting to get big. Instagram's blowing up. Everything's blowing up. And then off the back of that, I just kept going. Next company, next business, freelance. pushing forwards, and you've grown up with it as well. So you've done this off the back of a passion project. You've not come into this as a mind of like, I'm going to make money out of this. You will see social media and the biggest creators who are the most successful have done this because they love it, not done this to make money. Like Mr. Beast didn't start his YouTube channel because he wanted to make money. He did it because he loved making videos.
Yep.
I didn't start my fitness journey because I wanted to make money out of it. I did it because it was my passion.
Yeah.
And then that passion will slowly turn, hopefully, into a profession, which it has done mine. And I just took step by step by step by step and eventually landed where I am today.
So, yeah, just following on from the men's physique thing. First question is, how many six packs do you need to win the men's world championship fitness physique?
Got just consistent six pack, mate. Just all year round. Don't eat anything but air and dust.
Air and dust. I consider myself to be in relatively good shape for 42.
You're in great shape.
I work out pretty much every day, but I've never come close. And I don't eat junk. I don't drink Coke. But I've never managed to. I've always had just enough to never reveal what's underneath.
Yeah.
What's the trick? Is it just literally eating dust?
Okay, yeah, take that back. For anyone who's watching this now, is like, so unhealthy, don't do that.
Don't lick the sawdust.
Yeah, that's bollocks. You can have a great physique and you can hold a six pack while having a healthy regime. I believe so anyway. It's a whole like 360 approach of nutrition, training, everything, sleep. You've just got to dial it in, and you probably have to take a lot more steps than you think you will have to get there. I think everyone thinks it's quite accessible because you see the top 5% on social media just rocking a six pack, but realistically they're killing themselves to get there.
Yeah.
Like a healthy person doesn't necessarily have a six pack, if that makes sense. Not necessarily a healthy look, but it could be depending on your genetic makeup. Yeah,
genetics. I'm going to say genetics has got a lot to do with it, just to make myself feel better. But
it could be. It could be.
It would be nice, but
I could guarantee you a six pack if you wanted to take that.
Here we go. Look, he's already pitching. Look, here's the old marketing
consideration.
Guru.
When you're ready to buy, swoop back around.
Following on from that, I'm confident enough in my sexuality to say that you're a very attractive guy, right?
Where is this going?
Think Love Island meets The Bachelor, for those of you that are listening online. How far do you think that goes? I'm just thinking about, right, you've got a good following on social media, right? You've got the physique, you've got the looks, you're young, attractive, right, outgoing. I would imagine, I know it takes hard work, I know it takes consistency, but I'm thinking about you compared to, John sitting at home, he's a lorry driver, right? Yeah. He likes to go down the pub for a pint.
Yeah.
What's the chances of him ever getting the kind of traction that you've managed to achieve? Realistically, how much do you think it's that heavily image based on social media, or do you think it's more content driven?
I don't think it is that image based anymore. I think there is still a place for that, but I don't think the most successful creators are necessarily what you would deem the most attractive. Maybe, like you could take a YouTube...
I guess Gary Vaynerchuk isn't no oil painting, is he?
Oh, there you go. He's tremendously successful. There's different YouTube channels like, I'm not saying these people aren't attractive now by going listing them out, but Kay's Cooking. If you look at that gets a shit ton of views. There's a lot of food reviews where I get a lot of views. I think personality will, looks will get you through the door. Personality will hold someone there. It's like going on a date with a really good looking person, right? Like you go on a date with them and they're super attractive
and they're boring,
just fucking dead inside, and you're just like, this is painful. It's like pulling teeth. It's only going to get you so far, and I really think that's where social can make or break, because you see this actually is there's a very big story around a female creator who only ever took photos of herself and had a couple of mil following, and then when she went to sell a product, she got 0 sales, and it was clothing. Because it's predominantly men following her, so she's already launched to the wrong audience, and she doesn't have any like grit behind her. It's just the image focus. Whereas you can push into podcasts, you push into video, you can build up that relationship, and then people start to buy into you more than just like, oh, they look good. So I think personality really is what's key and to the success of any social media.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I've said on this podcast a million times that I believe that there's a shift in what people are resonating with and what people are following.
Yes.
And I think the people like the Grant Cardones and the dickheads that are, you know, renting their Ferrari in Dubai and telling everyone that they're Forex trading and whatever.
Yep.
You know, I think that shit's dropping away.
Yep.
And I think people I think they're getting tired of it. And I think if you go on your social media, lives, videos, posts, and just authentically be you, you know, and I was having this conversation with a previous guest, you know, if you're a woman, maybe it's a lot more important to you to think that you need to look good and have all the makeup on and all the, you know, false eyelashes and nails and makeup and all the rest of it. But I honestly think that the people that literally just roll out of bed and say, guys, look, this is me. Yeah. You know, I've got bags under my eyes. Yeah. You know, I've got wrinkles everywhere. But whatever your subject is, I honestly think that people are going to relate to that because it's real and it's who you are and it's authentic and people will like that. And I think that's the stuff that's working these days.
I definitely agree. I think that false narrative is just bullshit. People see through it straight away. We've not all got $1 million to go splashing out on cars like that. It's not relatable at all in any way or form. Yeah. It's also just gross. Yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, good for you. Most people who do phenomenally well don't flaunt it like that.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah. The ones with the ones who are really making that kind of money, they're not slapping you in the face with it.
No, and it's just, it gets a certain demographic to a bit, but you grow out of it, and you need to grow with your audience. That's another big thing, is you might become socially famous at 18, but your audience is going to grow, and that you need to grow with them. Yeah. So you need to transition your content and change, and you'll see people do that, going from Instagram, doing short form video, to transitioning to long form on podcasts, where there's an older demographic who listen to that, which is great, and so on and so forth, because not everyone just spends all day on TikTok.
What's your opinion on our market, right? What I do, what most of our listeners are in, service accommodation. When they're putting out content, it's an educational topic. Yeah. And I believe, I may be wrong, you can tell me, that it's harder to get engagement when you're posting about educational content, as opposed to, you know, me flipping my dirt bike off the roof and onto another building, for example, right? It's entertaining. Yeah. You know, and if I fall off and break a leg, I'll probably go viral and get a lot more views. People's problem in this industry when it comes to getting traction is when you're selling education, when you're trying to build your profile for investors or to find more deals or to get more leads, and you're putting out stuff about your work and business, it's not as engaging. It doesn't grab people's attention as much. What's your advice to people who are out there doing this every day and they're not getting the kind of engagement that they want? Yeah,
that's a good question. I think people buy people, essentially. So you need to... you can see it in some people's content. It's just really like forced and fake. Not fake, that's wrong. It's just forced. It's not natural to them. Like, they're really having to put it in and like read off that teleprompter and deliver it like an actor. That's not necessarily it. It's letting your like personality come through with it and deliver that. I think there's a good mixture of everything. Like, we want that real lifestyle content, but then we want that educational twist, and we want some benefit and value, because that's what's going to make me come back to you and go, yeah, I'm going to give you £10,000 for XYZ. I'm going to make that decision today, because there's got to be different bits. If you're trying to bring in a cold audience, it's got to be short, sharp, and effective. So you're going to have to cast that net out. I believe in casting that net out very wide. That's why I think personal branding is great, because you can cast it out wide. People will funnel down to you, they'll find out about you, and then they'll decide if they want to follow, if they want to engage, if they want to send you a message, if they want to fill out an application form. Even with educational content, whether it be in Airbnb, service accommodation, mortgage advisor, I'm trying to think of something else that's being a lawyer, there's always an edge that you can have. And you can talk about relevant topics of today and newsjack, and then bridge into your offering, or you can make something of value that isn't going to get as many views, but that's fine. You need a bit of both. Yeah, you should have a good content split, which is going to bring you the return. That top level, which is casting the net wide and you're really going out there to reach the masses, then that middle level piece of content, which is going to help educate people and really tell people what you're about, and that low level bottom of funnel content, which is going to have a strong call to action of submit, engage, call me, DM me, see you down the street, whatever it may be. If you're a fitness instructor, who knows? You need them 3 pillars.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe will build a strong social platform.
Yeah, it's great advice, and it's something that I'm really trying to work hard on. I'm learning this stuff every day. You know, I do my very best to give as much value to our mentees as I can around what I believe works and what works for me. And, you know, the way that I say, the things that I say to them is pretty similar to what you're talking about. I talk about, you know, 20, 30% business posts. You know, what is it you want? What is the opportunity that you can provide? Don't just talk about your wins, also talk about your fails, right? Be genuine, be authentic, but also mix that up with personal stuff. Show who you are as a person, build trust, build likability, build those relationships with people that align with your values. And then the third thing is to drop in some stuff that can get more eyes on your product or on your brand or on your page. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know this black magic, the way that it works. But, you know, I put out a few posts. One, quite honestly, that, you know, we can talk about a couple of different examples to give some people at home the idea of what's blown up for me. And I'm talking about in the millions of views. Not consistent, I wish it was, but it's happened multiple times. Yep. And one of the biggest ones that I put out on my Facebook personal page, which wasn't even meant to go viral. It was just an honest post that came from the heart. I'd been over to my dad's house. I live in Spain. I was home, went over to spend some time with my father, and, you know, the sun was out. We were sitting on a bench in my dad's garden, and I just pulled out the laptop and said, you know what, I've done this and that and this and that, and I listed off a bunch of incredible things that I've done in my life, which were true, because I've had an unconventional life. I've worked on super yachts. I've been around billionaires my whole life. I've you know, worked with royals, politicians, famous people, jumped out of planes, done bungee jumps, swam with sharks, all this crazy stuff. And I said, I've done all of this stuff, but that moment today, sitting on the bench in the sun with my dad having a cup of tea, beats all of that. Post, bang. And it just went fucking nuts. Nice. And it got over 1 million views on Facebook. Wow. And thousands of comments and my page is set to public. Yeah. Didn't know 99.9% of the people that were commenting, but it was all just like, that's beautiful. Really can relate. You know, I lost my father here and and it just went completely nuts. And the reach from my page that day, you know, and the amount of new followers I got off the back of it. And yes, a lot of them aren't going to end up buying my course or, you know, going into service accommodation, but you know, it just blew up.
And why do you think that was?
I think it was honest. I think it was genuine. I think a lot of people could relate to it. I think that a lot of people could tell the way it was written that it came from the heart. Because it wasn't meant to be a purposely viral post. There wasn't all the emojis and the hashtags. Yeah. It was just a few lines, and I think it was obvious that it was an honest post.
Nice. And it tells a story.
So
I think telling a story is a really big thing as well. If you can tell a story.
And it had a picture with it, which I think helped.
It's the thumb scroll, thumb stopping. Yeah. They see it, they see the headline. Yeah. And then it's a story that people get involved with, and then it evokes emotion. Yeah. And when you evoke emotion in a conversation or through a post, then people build that relationship with you, don't they? Yeah.
There's so many things to it. Like you said, I did do a headline. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I think I did it in some bold lettering, because if the headline's not going to stop people scrolling, they're not going to read the rest of the post. Yeah. So, you know, and it's the same with, you know, we can talk about live videos, for example. When you do a live video, if you spend the first 30 seconds going, oh, hi, my name's Alex, and, you know, today I was thinking that I thought maybe it could be nice if we kind of talked about, forget about it.
It's fucking annoying me already.
A second in, they're gone. Yeah. So you've got to drop that hook from the second that you go live. So what would your advice be on that? Because this is a thing that we throw around all the time. Like, how can you keep people's attention, this 3-second viewing rule now that they use?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that you literally do have 3 seconds. But you can imagine it. Like, we all scroll through our phones, if it's LinkedIn, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's whatever it may be. And you essentially have that very brief second to engage a completely cold audience. How do you get them? And when you think about the things that stop you in your tracks and make you want to listen, something that you find interesting, And you can clickbait it to a certain degree, and that means you make a title sound as crazy and as sexy as possible, but you need to be able to back it up with the content.
Yeah.
And that's important as well. So I do think the titles play quite a key part, because if you're scrolling through anything like YouTube, or let's take something like Netflix or Amazon, and they've got a good title, solid bio and description, you're going to go and watch it.
Yeah.
That's what it takes, I think. So there's a lot to be said about titles. Think about the Sun, the Mirror, all of the papers out there. What is the number one thing they have on their front cover? There's a massive title about what's happening and what's going to engage the reader and make you pick it up, buy it, read it. So then it tells you the story.
So we can safely say that the introduction to any live Facebook video, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, should never be, "Hi guys, my name's Alex."
Definitely not.
Never.
Straight away in there with, "Oh, hey, I'm going to jump off a cliff."
People are
with a parachute.
So something to bear in mind when you're doing your live videos. If you love to travel like me and you understand the power in escaping the money for time exchange trap, but you just don't know how to do it, then building an Airbnb consultancy business could be exactly what you have been looking for. Right now in the UK, there is a completely untapped opportunity through helping struggling Airbnb hosts by turning around their underperforming properties and generating you huge commission payments in the process. We are going to teach you all of the tools and all of the techniques that we've learned over the last 5 years through building our very own multiple six-figure Airbnb business, arming you with everything that you need to swoop in and save the day. Minimal startup costs, zero risk, and almost unlimited potential. Sound good? Welcome to the Airbnb Consultant. Contact us through any of the channels included in the studio notes to get the conversation started. It's a very fine line. It's something that I struggle with, the whole clickbait thing. You know, me and my business partner, we talk about it a lot. We're selling our program around, you know, serviced accommodation and Airbnb consultancy. And we're doing everything we can to come from a place of, you know, an ethical, genuine place of truly wanting to provide value and do things right and be honest and not lie and not make up bullshit and not throw around false figures and tell you that you're going to, you know, become a millionaire overnight, because you're not.
No.
But we feel like we're constantly swimming upstream because the people that are out there saying, "Guys, sign up with me, financial freedom in 7 days, get 25 rent-to-rent deals in the first week, you know, retire young." That's the shit that sells. And unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. People sign up to things that they want to believe. They get carried away in the dream. And that's an easier sell to them than us trying to be honest. Yes, the upside for us is that we know that when people come on board, those clients are going to be the right clients with the right attitude, the right understanding of what's in front of them. They're not going to be disappointed because we have to let them down on all the shit we sold them. But how do we navigate that for people that are trying to get to coaching or, you know, some kind of mentoring service? How do you sell authenticity without sounding like a boring twat?
I think that's like, it ties back to what we were talking about earlier with the power of brand, of like what do you want to represent and who do you want to be? You're never going to see Prada doing a campaign where it's like shouting in your face and like slashing discounts and XYZ. No, they're going to stand firm. Their tops are $2,000 a pop. Doesn't matter. We're doing catwalk only. Like, we are a prestigious brand. We hit the top. We don't really sell in shops. We have our own. That's it. That's where you'll get us. And we're staying firm with it. That pays a lot of dividends. Because whereas we take the other end of the spectrum of like Primark, where we're slashing everything's cheap, and it's a different buying mentality. So when you're reading out these lines, these big headlines to catch people's attention, I think that's where you've got to decide as who is your demographic on the other end. Because the people are going, you're going to be a millionaire the next day. They're going to get anyone ringing up, anyone submitting their form. They're going to get people with no money, little aspiration ringing up because they've sold them a pipe dream, and out of the 1,000 leads they gather, they might convert 10. Whereas yours is more of an honest approach, which I totally agree with, and I think is way better. You might not get the volume of leads, but you'll get a much higher quality of lead, and the conversion will be a lot higher as well.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, sometimes a lot better and almost sometimes safer to play the longer game as a steady build on the brand rather going all out cheap and cheerful, because I don't think that has a place in the market anymore. I think it's top end where people want to be.
Absolutely. And I think just coming from like a place of goodness, like I don't want to go out and sell people down the river with fake promises that we're not going to be able to pull off, because, you know, Sarah, my previous guest, she said on the last episode, she said, you know, she only wants to work with people when she knows categorically that they are going to be able to benefit from her services and recoup any investment they've made in her, and, you know, 10x it down the road with the knowledge that they're going to learn. Yeah. And it's the same for us, you know, it's just a no-brainer. So yeah, I completely agree. Coming back to the clickbait thing, which is also, you know, I kind of blow hot and cold with, because I understand the power of it. And I know that some of the biggest influencers in the world are using controversial things in order to grow their brand. There was something that happened recently that maybe we can touch on a little bit with in the Olympic Games. Okay. With
big fan of sport, been watching it all, watched every moment of every minute we've won a medal.
All in. It's pretty cool. With the boxing, so, you know, I'm sure everybody listening would have seen it in the news. It's been a lot of controversy. A female boxer with elevated levels of testosterone and an irregular chromosome makeup got into the ring with another female boxer and basically completely beat the shit out of her in, I think it was 46 seconds. Yep. The female opponent said that she'd never felt punches like it. She basically, you know, fell to her knees and said, I'm done. You know, I don't want to continue because I'm worried for my health. And all hell broke loose about, you know, the trans issue in sporting events. And you know, everybody immediately started saying that this person was a transsexual. Yeah. Is that the word? Transsexual.
Yeah, that's correct.
That was getting into the ring with a woman, and it was unfair and disgusting and vulgar and, you know, woke this and woke that. And now we know, fast forward a few days later, that that's not necessarily the case, and that she is a woman who was born a woman with women's bits, and she's just got a strange elevated level of testosterone and other bits and pieces. But throw into the mix that she'd previously failed, you know, tested, and she was banned previously. Blah 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 blah. So I was, you know, scrolling through socials, saw lots of influencers that were, you know, blowing up their socials using this as clickbait. So I then thought, well, I'll follow suit. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me.
Of course.
Threw it on my Facebook, you know, kind of stole the headlines and tweaked them a little bit. Yeah. And a similar thing happened. My Facebook blew up. Obviously all relative, right? They got 50,000 comments. I got 200 comments, which for me is
good though, isn't it? 200 comments.
Is a lot of comments.
Imagine 200 people in a room.
Exactly.
Arguing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look at and clicking into the reach, you know, a good few thousand people saw that post and engaged with it.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
How many people reach-wise did you get? Do you know?
I think reach-wise, it was something like 8,000 or 8 or 9,000.
So you've reached 9,000 people.
Yeah, that's crazy. That have had their eyes on my profile, or whether they clicked into my profile, I don't know. But they were on my page. They saw that post. They saw my name.
Cool.
How many of those people have followed me, I don't know. But so made the post, went nuts, comment, like, angry face, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm replying, I'm like, okay, this is cool, great engagement. And then it came out a couple of days later. Obviously it wasn't as black and white as we thought.
Yeah.
She is a woman. She's not a man. She's not even a transsexual. She's got women's bits. She's just got this unnatural advantage. Yeah. And my business partner messaged me, who's literally one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. Like, he's the kind of guy that like step over a fly or an ant, you know.
Got ya.
So nice, loves everyone, believes that he's good in everyone. And he messaged me and he said, look, you know, new stuff's come to light. Maybe we should take down the post. And I said, look, yes, you're right, but this is driving a lot of engagement to our page, for our business, for our brand. I think we should leave it up. So yeah, I'm just interested to know, like, what's your opinion on using clickbait to drive people to your page?
Yeah. That is an interesting story, though.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one to unravel because there's so many different elements
what's your
to
thoughts on
that and to build on. But it's interesting. I mean, I have an opinion. I love sport. I followed boxing. I followed all of the Olympics for sure. I appreciate her. I've watched her fights as well. I watched her last fight with the qualifying fight. Now I think she's like guaranteed a medal at this point. And it was close. It was really close. And there's loads of things to go for and against, but this genetic testing on this level hasn't been around for that long either, which is a big thing. So if we went back, I don't know, how long's the Olympics been running? Let's just say we went back halfway, 50 years. Was there a female like this then? We don't know.
That's one of those questions. This is why I would never go on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
Because, those first one or two questions where everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And it comes up and I'm like, nasty audience. That's why I'd never go on there because I don't know stuff like how long, you ask me how long the Olympics has been running. I'll probably say like, I don't know, 2,000 years.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. When was it? It was just like Romans started the Olympics, didn't they?
I'm
pretty sure they did with some guy running. I can't remember the story, but it's a long time. We weren't been doing this testing for that long. No way. She also has competed in her boxing federation for an extremely long time. Also, her country do not believe, or even to believe, they don't stand for transsexuals at all.
Yeah, it's illegal, right?
It's illegal. So she couldn't come to the games as that for sure, or she'd probably
be executed.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But so all of that sentiment in her country doesn't exist, and this is what the media has done to us. Because I'm really curious to know: is this the same story in the US? Is this the same story in Brazil? Is this the same story in New Zealand and Australia, where everybody's competing in the games? Or have our media just spanned this narrative to get the clicks and get the views? Which would be interesting to know from someone else's point of view. But it does get that. It's that first clickbait title, and it's crazy what that title and what someone seeing in a newspaper can spark. Because that's been everywhere. That outshadowed everything else happening in the Olympics for a period of time.
Yeah.
And that's also because everyone fucking loves to give their opinion.
Yeah.
They love it. If they can do anything, they'll give their opinion. That's why you should always use polls on social media as well, because people always vote because they love opinions. But for sure.
So you're saying that you've got to have balls really in this game to really grow that reach. You've got to be controversial.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Andrew Tate was the most Googled man on the planet, right?
Yeah.
Because he says stuff that divides people, and so many people absolutely hate his guts, and then there's so many people that follow him. He has literally created a cult.
Yeah.
And people will, I watched a social media thing the other day. There's a guy walking from somewhere to Romania, with nothing. The guy's completely broke, and he's that desperate to get to Andrew Tate's store and meet Andrew Tate. And he's documenting it, right? And he's getting the likes and he's getting the views. And obviously at some point Andrew Tate's going to see it, and yes, he will meet him, and God knows where his career or his life will go from there once he meets Andrew Tate. So fair play to that guy.
Like he's Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he is someone who's using social media to completely change his life just through documenting his journey. And it's the same way now that you've got people like lorry drivers, again, using lorry drivers as an example, that have a very normal job.
Yep.
That's, no offense, but pretty dull, right? Yeah. To say that you're a lorry driver, you're not really doing much. But now you've got guys with a frigging camera in the cab, right? That are like, hey guys, I've just driven 300 miles. I'm going to sleep in this lay-by. Yeah. This is how I cook my little microwavable meals.
Yep.
This is the oven I use. This is where I sleep. And they've got like 3 million followers.
Yeah, wild. It's crazy.
And now they're making 10 times their lorry driving income through social media.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And that's a big tie back to, you don't necessarily just need the looks, you need the personality too. Sure, these lorry drivers are very good looking at the same time as Curry and the personality, 100%.
Lots of lorry drivers with six packs.
Absolutely. And if not, come to my coaching, not a problem. But exactly, personality will shine through. And I think with the looks thing as well, we tie it back to this gender thing about the Olympics. It's tricky because if she had been or looked more feminine than she had, would we still have this argument?
Well, I'll tell you what I was saying in the comments, right? loads. It was split. I had like 50% were like, actually probably 75% were like, this is wrong. That's disgusting. I'm sick of this woke mentality. This world's gone mad. When would we ever put a man in the ring with a woman and and allow it to be legal to, break her nose? There was all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was, say, 25% of people were saying, it's disgusting that you're using this as clickbait to drive people to your products, and this is what's wrong with social media, and she's a woman and you don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, I will admit that as more information came to light, I did start to feel a little bit guilty about the post that I'd put up. But then in response to these people that were saying that it was wrong and she should be able to fight and it was completely fair and natural, I was saying, you know what? She may well be a woman.
Yeah.
But if you can honestly tell me, hand on heart, if you've got a daughter, you would be more than happy for your daughter to step into the ring with that box with elevated levels of testosterone and an obvious unfair advantage with the power that she holds in her right hand, compared to stepping into the ring with a female boxer with normal levels of testosterone, with a normal natural amount of power in her right hand. Are you seriously telling me that it wouldn't bother you either way who she steps into the ring with? It's bullshit.
Yeah.
So everybody has a view. Everybody has, an opinion.
Definitely.
And the truth is that most 99.9% of people will say, I don't want my daughter getting into the ring with her.
I totally understand that. But my argument would be, coming from a competitive background where you give your whole life to sport, the governing body should have done more if that is the case. Because that poor girl who is seen as a imagine being called a transgender person and you're not at all.
Yeah.
You've worked all your life boxing, fighting, working out, getting there, working, losing. She's lost loads. Lost like 9 times. 9 losses on your record. It's not a professional record. You've won a few as well. You've given your whole life to this. You've got to the Olympics. You're starting to get somewhere and you get slammed with this fucking story. Because you could have the argument of she's got superior genetics, which is like a really foggy line and place to go. But that could be another argument, and I'm just playing the other side of it from the athlete's point of view. Because what that must have done to her, like, must have absolutely rattled her of what she's tried to achieve, and then everyone just goes, nah, bollocks, you're not a woman, you're a man.
Yeah.
And because I've said so, you're a man. Not because you think you're a woman. That's a joke.
Yeah.
And like what that must do to her. And then everyone ridicules her online. Not saying what you did was wrong at all, because I also did a similar thing on Instagram where I just put a poll like, do you agree with this, yes or no? And that's exactly the same as what you've done. So I think it's interesting to hear the masses of people's opinion, but not everyone follows up with the full story, which I think is actually social media's biggest problem, is we only get the top line and none of the actual meat. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like a shit sandwich. We just get the bread and none of the filling.
And I got to be honest, some of the comments that came back, I did struggle to argue with. Someone wrote something about, what's the difference between this and, for example, like Shaq O'Neal on the basketball court? A good foot taller than the majority of the other players, probably a good 50, 80, 100 pounds heavier than some of the other players.
Because the argument is his growth discs are like hypersensitive, they hyper perform. So his disc he'll keep growing forever. Yeah. So do we just get rid of him as well as a professional athlete? I don't know. It's a foggy one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy place. But I do think you need to sprinkle some of that stuff in there in order, because you can't just every day be like, hey guys, here's me at B&Q. Hey guys, here's me at the playground with my kids. Like,
B&Q.
You need to appeal. You need to stir up a little bit of something and put a little bit of kind of controversy into some of your posts. But there are a lot of people that will not do that, and I completely understand why they're not going to do that, because it doesn't align with them and they don't want to play that game. And I guess that's a decision that you want to make. But if you want to go all in on growing your brand on social media, I think it's kind of a necessary evil.
A really good example of that would be Joe Wicks and James Smith PT. Joe Wicks, super PC. My mum loves him. Everyone loves him.
James Smith's content.
James Smith will just absolutely slate anything that he just thinks is bullshit.
Yeah.
And that is very, like that separates the room.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who is like completely PC, I'm all the way in. James Smith's like, absolutely fucking not, mate. This is bollocks. And that's fine. But then we're talking about niches and brand. Who are you more entwined to go with from that?
Yeah, it's a really good example. Joe Wicks, you know, the nice guy next door, you know, with the perfect family and the picket fence and all the rest of it. Obviously, families, kids, he really appeals to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of argue with that because he's built a brand that's just Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Authentic.
Nailed it. Absolutely killed it.
Yeah. But, you know, it's good to say that, again, he's an example that people might look at Joe Wicks and go, look, it's all right for Joe, you know, and he's not in his mansion in Surrey, you know, with his beautiful wife and you know, in his fame. But the truth is that guy spent months, I don't know, maybe it was years, you know, doing his little workouts in the park for free.
Absolutely years he did that for.
Trying to get people to turn up and do a workout with him in the park. And again, consistency, getting up, getting knocked down, going home. Imagine he must have gone home every day and thought, well, another fucking waste of time that was.
Yeah, got 8 people that turned up to the park today.
Yeah,
cool, made 25 quid.
Yeah. But then also at the same time, you could say, would he have got to where he is today if he didn't look the way he looks? Because he's also a very good-looking guy. And that's part of his image in his brand.
Kind of true, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's subjective, but yeah, also true.
You know, if he'd have put in the same level of work, but he didn't look that way, it's interesting, you know, would he have made it or not? I don't know.
Well, it depends. Again, it goes back to brand, I think, and what area you're pushing yourself into. If you want that clean, polished look, that's very different to the more rugged. Well, like that's like bodybuilding. Like you got hardcore bodybuilding over here, which is crazy, and they're eating a lot, they're taking a lot of supplements they probably shouldn't be taking, and then you've got clean, competing athletes, and that's 2 different worlds. Yeah. Again,
the stuff that I'm seeing blowing up now, and again, we talked about it before. It's like whatever you look at, you'll start filling your feed with. But it now seems that everybody's like a nutritionist, or everyone's on the carnivore diet. Yeah, you know, this is what I eat every day to look like this, you know, and it will be like a piece of slate or a breadboard with, you know, a tomahawk steak and 65 eggs for breakfast.
The head of an animal that just sat there.
And maybe that was that all kicked off from Liver King?
The Liver King, who was on 10, was it $25,000 worth of steroids per calendar month.
Jeez, I mean, you're ripped, but you haven't got anything near what that...
I haven't got that sort of money, mate. Like, that's not happening for me.
Do you think you could look like that with steroids?
I don't know if I'd want to look like that.
How did that guy even put on a t-shirt? Like, his pecs were like...
Yeah, he still looks pretty good like that, to be fair. I mean, it doesn't just come from gear. Like, that's come from hard work and nutrition, but I don't buy into his whole...
could you eat like that?
Ancestral tenets. Do I eat a lot of protein? Yes. Would I just eat sheep testicles? No.
You wouldn't go that far?
No, definitely not. Because it's like he talks shit. Like, he talks about breast milk. There's fuck all protein in breast milk. Like, if you look at the nutritional value of it, it's absolute bullshit. You're better off just drinking a protein shake. People actually fucking slate protein shakes. It's the most like bioavailable protein on the market. It's been made so it will digest and then be absorbed by the body. That's the whole point. There's nothing more effective than actual protein powder. So it's a common misconception that it's like terrible, it's going to kill you. No, it's not. It's fine. Everyone's used it for ages. Just take protein.
Just take the protein shakes. Yeah. Right. Let's talk about, you know, we can sit here all day long and talk about Joe Wicks and, you know, Andrew Tate,
clickbait shit.
And, you know, Liver King, you know, all these multi-millionaires. My listeners is, you know, John, who, I don't know. Just John.
We get one download.
We got Sharon as well.
Love John.
Right.
Shout out to Sharon.
They are normal people with normal jobs, and they're trying to break free. And they're getting into the property world, and they're trying to grow their brand, and they're trying to find more deals, and they're scared shitless of social media.
Cool.
The last time they did a Facebook post was, you know, a year and a half ago when their friend had a baby, right? And they put up a post, whatever, or they're at the park.
Yep.
And we're now sitting here saying you cannot be successful, or at least there's less chance of you being successful with deals, with raising finance, with building with finding investors, with any of that stuff without social media. In reality, these people, normal people with normal lives, don't really even know where to begin, right? So why don't we talk a little bit about where's the best place for people to start? What's the moving parts? What should they learn first? What's the best platforms for normal people to start trying to build a brand on, and how should they go about it? The real functional, tangible steps.
Great question. Where to start on social media if you're a newbie and you're a bit scared? Where are you hanging out the most is most likely where your demographic's going to be. So if you're spending the majority of your time on Facebook, your demographic is predominantly going to be on Facebook. If it's LinkedIn, they're probably going to be on LinkedIn. Normally, your demographic is a direct reflection of you for a lot of businesses. So go to that social platform that you feel most comfortable on and you feel like you spend your most time on. That would be my number one thing. Don't try and spread yourself so thin. You'll hear about everyone saying be on every platform every day and just post. It's just not going to be consistent. Consistency is key. Algorithm rewards consistency, and that's what helps builds up reputation, brand, sentiment, so on and so forth. So where can we go that we know our target audience is at, and that we can keep a solid amount of consistency? My final thing would be, now we've hit them 2 points, is over-analysis causes paralysis. So don't overthink what you're posting. If you think it's good and you think it's going to work and you don't have 8.10 million followers and you're not a FTSE 100 and it might cripple the share price, give it a go. See if it works. The reach is probably going to be minimal to start with. You might reach a couple hundred people and it might not work. But over analysis really does cause paralysis, and if you don't post and try and test, you're never going to know if it works. So you're better off just going for it. Yeah,
it's without doubt the number one issue that I've come across is people thinking, I sit there and I say, guys, you've got to put out a piece of content every day, whether it's written, whether it's a photo, whether it's a video, whether it's a live, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn. You've got to have visibility on your chosen platforms, no more than 2, because like you said, anything more than that becomes a massive chore, stress city. You're not going to have the time. So choose 2 you're most comfortable with, and just be consistent every single day. And always, the number one objection is, what the hell am I going to post every day?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doing anything. No one's going to care. No one's going to watch. No one's going to be inspired. It's just me at home on the computer trying to find the next deal, or me cleaning the toilet at my SA house that someone just took a massive dump in and left skids down the pan. Right?
Yes.
No one wants to see that stuff. And I'm saying it doesn't matter what it is, because this is what people need to understand. It's all relative to where you are. So you're here and you're looking at people up there and you're saying, my God, look at their perfectly edited content with professional lighting, and them getting on their jet, and them in their Ferrari, and them, holding the keys to their latest mansion. Who the hell is going to look at my stuff where I've just signed my first rent-to-rent deal for £1,000 a month, and I've got a full-time job and 2 kids, and I'm actually completely broke?
Yeah.
But the truth is that the people below you, right, who are now just starting to sow the little seeds of, rent to rent, service accommodation, property, business, whatever it is, might be the answer to get me out of this shit show that I'm in.
Yeah.
They're looking at you who are now doing it, taking the plunge, taking the steps, putting yourself out there, and they are inspired by you. Just like you are inspired by the knobhead in Dubai and their Ferrari. If that works for you. So you've got to remember that there's always people below you that are looking up at you and going, shit, John is doing amazing things.
Absolutely. Just get out there and do it.
Just get out there.
It's just do it.
Yeah.
But that's it. You just got to go out there and do it and give it a go and post. You never know and it doesn't have to be, like you said, this pristine, highly edited, fabulous content. Because that's not what worked for you, was it, when it went viral?
No.
When you did your post with your dad?
Exactly.
That was just real content.
Yeah.
That was true. That like, sparked emotion. I think that's the biggest thing, is just tell a story. Tell your story every day. Don't expect everything to go viral. And the biggest thing as well, and this is something I always say to people when I do a talk around social media, is if you have a following of 200 and people go, oh, I've only got a following of 200, what's the point? If you walked to a room full of 200 people, you can go, oh, fuck it, I'm not delivering this. I'm not speaking to these 200 people. I need 200,000.
What a waste of time.
Yeah. You're never going to do that.
Yeah.
200 people is still a massive audience. And followers are important. I'm not going to say they're not. Some people will argue they're not. They are, for maybe advertising purposes when you retarget your following and stuff like that. But most algorithms will push you in front of a new audience 70% of the time rather than your following. So you will always reach a new audience, and you will keep reaching a new audience and keep spreading that message. So just keep going.
Yeah.
It will grow over time. Something will pop. You might only ever get to 5,000 followers or 2,000 followers, but 2,000 paying loyal customers is better than none.
Yeah.
5,000 loyal paying customers is better than none.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk, who we spoke about previously, with his 10 million followers. Have you ever bought from Gary Vaynerchuk?
I haven't.
Neither have I.
No.
And I've followed him for 8+ years. But I love him. I enjoy his content. I've watched him, so maybe I've contributed to some of his ad revenue, but I've never bought anything from him.
And why is Gary Vaynerchuk so successful? Because whether he is or not, genuinely, the way that he comes across is incredibly caring, incredibly real. You know, he's not talking about his money and his planes and this or that. He's talking about people and life, and, you know, not killing yourself to achieve this materialistic stuff, but, you know, putting your health first and trying to get to a place where you can just have a little, you know, just enough that makes you happy. He brings it all down to a level that everybody can buy into and see just enough possibility.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, okay. But at the same time, he's also incredibly successful and entrepreneurial. So he just inspires in every different way.
Which is great. And I think the first time I found Gary was probably through like a Instagram reel, or a TikTok maybe, and a video which was about motivation. I never ever knew what he did. I had no idea. I thought he was just like a motivational speaker. But he doesn't. He owns a massive social media agency, which makes perfect sense now. Yeah. It's incredibly successful, VaynerMedia. And there's a lot of different avenues. But that is the power of personal brand. That is the power of spreading your net wide and casting it in. Because if I ever do run a huge multi-million-pound company and I want to run huge advertising campaigns that VaynerMedia run with like Pepsi and people like that, I'll know where to go. And that's the power of casting it wide. If you think of the personal brands that have that power, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, they are widely known. But if you just found them through one avenue, then you trickle down, you find they're like go-to markets. I always think like you should think of yourself as like the mothership, and then each of your revenue streams is a go-to market. So I have like social media, but then I also have fitness, online health and fitness coaching. So there's like two. You might find and discover my personal brand, and then you'll decide which avenue you want to go down.
Yeah. And I think there's a few pretty basic things that a lot of people understandably don't know about social media. Just a couple of very minor tweaks that you can make that, you know, until you grow, to make sure that you're starting off on the right foot. For example, a lot of people think that they need to have a Facebook business page.
Yeah.
Right. And they put all their time and effort into growing their Facebook business page and putting all their posts on there and uploading all their videos and putting all that time and effort in, and nothing. Like, you get 0 reach, no comments, no new followers, nothing. And you could be doing that for a year going, what the hell is going on? Well, the truth is that with Facebook and Meta, correct me if I'm wrong, you're never going to grow that page unless you're paying for ads, right? To boost that Facebook business page. Yeah. So your reach, as far as I can understand it, is absolutely, you know, massively increased by posting on your personal profile.
Yeah, like if you were going to do one or the other and you said to me, this is my personal brand, which one should I go for? It'd be like personal profile all day. Just open it up to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's not it's public, not private.
Yeah.
Because the page is just like you said, you might get a success. Like 99% of the time, you're not going to go into though, unless you've got really good content and a strong brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I did that. I was putting all my time and effort into the business page, and I'm like, nothing's happening. Moved it to my personal profile, and then all of a sudden I started getting a lot of views. Very, very important as well to make sure that you're set to public. Yeah. Like how many people are just crushing like the content, reels, videos, uploads, and they've got like 8 friends.
Yeah.
And only those 8 friends are seeing it because their settings are all wrong.
Fuck yeah, that's the same on LinkedIn. Like you can turn on creator mode and you'll start to reach an audience pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
Or you could have it turned off and it just goes to connections.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's very, very closed off.
Yeah, it's really, really important. So I would say, and I'd, your opinion would be good on this. I believe that if you're like, okay, I'm going all in on building this property business, and I'm going all in. I understand the power of social media. I want to build a brand. I want to drive people to my page, but I don't know shit about what I'm doing. I would say the best investment you can do, and I'm actually floored that a lot of people don't run like social media training courses. Yeah. Like everybody's running rent to rent training and, property flips and this and that. People need to know how to do social media properly. So I would say contact someone like you, like I did. I came to you, this is how we met. And I said, I need an optimization or an audit basically of all of my social media, because I know that my profile could be better. I know that my settings are probably messed up. I know that I've got 0 visibility on LinkedIn because I don't really put any time into it. And I understand how much I'm missing out on potential leads from LinkedIn, right? So I'm going to spend some time with Kieran. He's going to go through and just probably rip all of my socials apart, and I'm going to have to start over again. But I think I'm doing better than most, but I know it can also go up a level. So I would say to anybody at the get-go, at the beginning, if you can afford it, take a little bit of money, invest it with someone like Kieran, and just sit down for a couple of hours and just sit with you, and you say, okay, do this, do that, post here, post there, and start on the right foot from the beginning.
Absolutely. It's like anything. It's like we take it back to fitness. Like, why spend 12 months figuring out how to lose that weight when you can be told how to do it within 12 weeks? Like, there's exactly the same for social.
It's like me trying to get a 6-pack for 18 years.
Exactly. I'm just trying to sell you this now. Full circle. But that's exactly it. It's like anything. Everything is better off with a coach in some way. If they can guarantee you it, if they can show you it, if they will say, I'll put my neck on the line and give you this result, then why not go all in? Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that the other reason why I wanted to get you on, and, other than how much information, and we had a long talk, right, the other week, well over an hour that you gave me, no charge. And now you're here, and we'll be working together on plenty of things off the back of that. But you also told me about some of the brands that you have personally built single-handedly, and obviously we don't need to mention any names, but I know that you've built some of the biggest brands, people that I'd heard of, that I know are hugely successful now, doing multi-7-figure figures in their company.
Yeah. Talk
to us a little bit, obviously without giving any names, about some of your work with building brands.
It's an interesting one. We've done a few big things in my career in social for sure, but it's all kind of the same. It's just like you kind of rinse and repeat the same strategy, because social's not, once you figured it out, it's not that hard. That sounds mental to say, but social media channels will do kind of follow the same pattern for success. And once you can figure out what that brand or personal brand has got to offer, who they should be talking to, what that content should be shaped like, how it should be optimized, it kind of snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, and then bang, and you're getting hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And
so would I be right in thinking, as a novice here, but kind of connecting it to the property world, like we always say, the very first starting point is like, who is your avatar?
Yeah.
Who is your ideal client? For us in service accommodation, who are we serving? Is it contractors? Is it corporates? Is it leisure market? Because then we know what properties we need to go source, what kind of marketing we need to be doing, what conversations we need to be having. So presumably, is it the same? Is that where you would begin?
Yeah, you would essentially look for who's your target audience, who's your sales avatar, essentially, who you're trying to sell to or speak to.
Yeah.
What do they look like, what they into. We just ran a really successful campaign on Reddit, which is a social media platform which is predominantly all word based, and we ran it for job applications, and it was the most successful recruitment campaign ever ran on Reddit, which was Reddit's words, not mine. Which was fantastic, and it was all to do with the creative and the way. And when I mean creative, is what imagery we used, and how we created that. And the way we did that was to go and speak to the people who would apply for the jobs. What are you into? What do you like? Let's say it was for a JavaScript developer, very niche. What do they like? What are you into?
Right.
I love code. I love Star Wars. I enjoy sci-fi. I enjoy Lord of the Rings. And like that might sound super stereotypical for a JavaScript developer to be into that sort of thing, but then we base the creative around that. And then it's already got them. And then when we're advertising it, we advertise it. They're like, we love comic books. We advertise in the comic book section. We make sure the creative looks and emulates a comic book. We add humor to it. We add specific jokes within the sci-fi demographic that only people in that demographic understand. So it only speaks to that one person that clicks through and applies for that job, because we're looking for the quality, not the quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. About getting your content in front of the right eyes. And it kind of comes back to the conversation I was having just before this with our podcast manager. We could be purely focused on the amount of downloads on this podcast, right? But the way that podcasts work is, it's not necessarily the amount of downloads. The downloads might start to reduce over time. Mm-hmm. But what happens is that all of the hanger-oners that maybe just touched on your podcast for a couple of seconds and then never looked at it again, they all drop away. And the people that are left, that you're laser-focused, very bought in, very warm lead audience, that the chances of converting them from podcast into, anything else off the back of that, not specifically this one, but all podcasts are normally driving traffic, to something to drive their brand.
Absolutely,
is increased massively because your audience is very bought into you as a person, as a brand, as a business.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very important to be getting this stuff in front of the right eyeballs.
Absolutely, and it's never too late. I think that's something to remember as well. It's never too late. People are like, I've missed the boat. I can't do it. Instagram happened in 2012, and the height of YouTube has passed, and I don't think that's true at all. Yeah. You have new creators come through all the time. One of my really good friends hosts one of the most successful podcasts in the world, Shits and Gigs. He started that in 2017. We used to be personal trainers together on like minimum wage when we were like 17, 18. He's now like absolutely killing it, and he started that in his bedroom on his own with a mic.
Wow. I've heard of Shits and Gigs, yeah.
There you go. And he's got like multiple kids, was juggling multiple jobs. There's no excuse. He went out there and absolutely killed it, and is absolutely killing it now.
Yeah.
They just sold out the O2 Arena.
It's insane. And I think it's, again, like coming back to like the Joe Wicks thing, I think so many people look at people like him, Joe Wicks and these other guys, James English, right, that are massive podcasters or massive in business, whatever it is that they're doing. And Alex Hormozy spoke about this, about, people now look at him and say, they just think it happened overnight.
Yeah.
And now everybody wants to know him. Yeah. But when he was like in the trenches, like no one gave him a second of their time. Yeah. When he was a nobody, just fighting every day to try and build the business, losing money, going bankrupt, maxing his credit card. Nobody gave him the time of day. And now he's worth $1 gazillion, and he's built 3 million businesses, and he's this big guru and marketing leader. Everyone's like, hey, Alex, and he like it all happened overnight. It's like, no, it took years.
It's graft.
And most people aren't willing to put in that kind of consistency. And social media and building a following and growing a brand is unless you're incredibly unique, unless you have a gift, whether it's looks or a product that you have, the chances are it's going to take a long time to get traction.
I think so. I think 99% of the time it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
I think anything worth having is going to take a long time. We would all be doing it.
And most people aren't really willing to put in that time. They spend a week of posting every day and see that they've only got 8 likes, and it's like, well, fuck this.
like getting a six-pack.
Yeah. My 18-year six-pack took a while, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm still not there. I've got a one-pack. Just at the very top, there's a little something there.
That's it. It's coming.
It.
Another 2 years, nailed.
I can feel it.
But it could pop. That's exactly it, though. It's just consistency is key. You never know when it might pop for you. It takes time. Joe Wicks posted on social media for years, YouTube, almost like daily uploads without getting anything, like 10, 20, 30, 200 views, and then it went bang.
Yeah.
And that's what it does happen. Same for James Smith, PT, same thing. I know I keep going back to fitness, but same thing. Mr. Beast, same thing. He uploaded his YouTube viewing numbers, and it went up, then straight back down, and then shot straight back up. So it's a long game you've got to play.
And the reason that I like you and I would choose to work with you is because I can tell, based on the interaction that we've had, that you've got a deep knowledge about this subject. Because I think that in social media, and I know of a couple of people, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a lot of people out there that are selling out rooms, courses, they're on the stage, and I look at their clips and I look at their courses, and it's literally them somehow over 3 days taking one sentence of, you just need to put out more content, and somehow they drag that one line out over 3 days of just be consistent, and you got to put out loads of content and put out more content, and it's like, yeah, but okay, but there's a shit lot more to it. There's algorithms, there's where to post, when to post, paid marketing, different platforms, the psychology behind it, and you've got to have all of those moving parts.
Yep.
Not just, we can make a reel and put some little captions there. You need more than that.
Absolutely. And yeah, there is a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Who go out and give you a 3-day course for an instant fix, and that's not social media.
No.
That's such bullshit. Like, you can't ring up Mark Zuckerberg, like, mate, I've just had 300 people on this course, make sure they go viral for the next week. That's not going to happen. No way.
No.
Like, it's hard work, but there is a way of getting it right.
Yeah, absolutely. What would your advice be? Again, let's use John and Sharon as examples. That are
Top 2 listeners.
Top 2 listeners, top 2 downloads.
Shout out to John and Sharon.
John and Sharon, good to see you again. They are mid-40s, never done much social media. They're just now getting started, dusting off the laptop. If you had to take 2 different platforms, right? Which 2 would you recommend? And how should they be posting? I.e. stories, reels, lives, written posts, and when should they do it? Like, in a nutshell, I know it's impossible, it's such a broad subject, but your kind of best advice on that?
And we're talking Airbnb vibes.
Yeah, just property maybe.
Yeah.
Let's go with property.
Are these people predominantly got visually great content, or nothing at all? Just
nothing. They're just trying to secure their first deal, and they know that they're in it. They want to grow an audience because they want to build this into a long-term business, and they want to raise finance and build a brand.
When they got to secure a deal, what's the lowest acquisition point? What's the lowest money?
$5,000.
5K. Cool. Let's say LinkedIn. I'd definitely be on LinkedIn. Everyone's got money on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You'd think so anyway, reading some of the fucking posts.
Well, that's great, because that's the only one I'm not on. So fuck you.
I would definitely go on LinkedIn. 100%, because it's where directors hang out. It's where, VPs hang out, C-suite level execs hang out.
Yeah.
That's where they are. And that's kind of the people with the cash to maybe give you 5K. In my opinion.
Okay.
Or managerial level, high senior managerial level, they're putting the money away, they kind of got it. They're going to be on LinkedIn for sure.
Okay.
LinkedIn as well, you can do very well at written posts.
What, sorry?
Written posts.
Written posts.
Just written posts. I've got an account, for example, personal brand account that we manage, and we've spoken about a topic, nothing controversial. We use an image that we pulled off Google, and that one post has a reach of 1 million impressions, and it's done phenomenally well. And I think with LinkedIn personally, if you can get 2 really great posts, 2 to 3 really great posts per week, you can grow really quick, and your reach is really generous from the algorithm compared to other social platforms where you're fighting for it with Meta and Instagram. Whereas LinkedIn's a little bit different with written, it will push it more, where it doesn't favor video, because video doesn't autoplay on LinkedIn. So it's harder, because I've got to go, I've seen that, and then click on it, and then go, you've got to listen to it, turn it up, okay. now I'm involved, now I've got to rewind it, listen to it again, because I didn't get quite, so you just think, oh, fuck that noise. And he's just on to the next post. So written really works really well.
Right.
Like short, sharp written posts, high level of engagement, high level of reach, high level of following, connections. They are also developing that a lot more, LinkedIn. So you've got creator mode on there now. You've got like a collaboration mode, paid partnership mode. There's a lot of more coming to LinkedIn, especially now it's owned by Microsoft. So that will be pushed a lot within that whole, not just corporate world, but I believe that's also where people would have extra income.
One of the reasons why I haven't put a ton of time into LinkedIn, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that in order to really maximize LinkedIn's power, you need to be a paid subscriber, and it's not cheap.
Depends what you would. So you're talking about premium?
Yeah, to like connect with people outside of your network or something.
No, so you can have a normal account, switch to creator, and I could connect you with X amount of people per month, and you'd build X amount of followers per month. Okay. There is a limit you can go out and connect with, but I think you're gonna struggle to hit that limit. Right. I think of the limits. It's the limit per connections per month is 400. So you got to send 400 requests per month to hit that limit of connections, which is a lot.
Interesting.
That's a lot of external DMing.
Okay, so you wouldn't suggest, because I thought you would have said Facebook, because Facebook's got the biggest reach out of any platform.
Number one was
the biggest users.
Number one was LinkedIn. Number two is Facebook. So
you tell everyone to have a Facebook page.
Oh yeah, because
you've got page profile.
2.7 billion monthly active users is insane.
Yeah.
People who say their target audience isn't on Facebook, it is.
Yeah.
You're just not looking in the right place, or you're not posting the right content, or you're not reaching the right people.
And then on Facebook, you just recommend at least every other day, ideally every day, a piece of content that can be mixed between like written reels, lives.
Well, if Sharon and John and you're listening to this, like you just need to go and post.
John's driving the lorry at the minute.
A couple of times. If you do what you can do consistently, if you can post Monday and Thursday and that's it without having a meltdown and a panic attack, stick to that. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get a reach of 1,000 on each of these posts. You're then going to do it all month. So now we've got 2, 4, 6, 8,000 reach in that month. We're going to the next month. We've missed a week. We've now only got a reach of 6,000. Algorithm goes, oh, you've only got a reach of 6,000. No one gives a shit about your content anymore, or no one thinks you're as important. Deprioritizes you in the algorithm. You've got to work your way back up to that again.
Right.
So consistency is really key here. If you can do 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, build up over time. And my biggest thing to people starting out, start a mothership document of content. Open a Google Drive, completely free to do. Label it mothership content. Copy every post you ever do into that document. When you're having a bad day, go on a holiday, can't be bothered, hate your business, hate everything you do, which happens to every single entrepreneur and business owner, go into that document, copy and paste what you did 6 months ago, and put it out again and reuse it. Repurpose, reuse, and go again. Your content will only reach 3 to maybe 30% of your following ever. So feel free to push it again. I've seen so many pieces of content I've used in the past do better the second time around.
Wow. That's something I have not done, but also that, you know, you could lose your page, right? They could take that down because you don't own it.
Oh yeah.
So they could deauthorize it at any time and you lose all of that content.
I was actually terrified of this morning because I was going back and forth. Feel free to comment on things as well. This is a big thing that social is trying to pick up on now as well. Is are you interacting, or are you just getting someone to do this for you? Are you an actual person? And you'll see like Mike Tyson's account commenting on someone else's account, or Adidas or Audi comment on all these accounts all the time. So they want to see that because that's genuine interaction. It's not just one way. You're not like a notice board. It's a 2-way convo. Right. So I was commenting on something this morning about the UK, and it was a controversial comment maybe in some people's opinion. And then I think, I'm going to get mass reported for that comment. And then Instagram's just going to take away my account. And that feeds the whole one side of my business, and I could absolutely kill it overnight. So you sometimes do step on eggshells, but at the same time, just be as PC as you can and cover your back.
Yeah, I've done that recently. I've gone to comment on something, maybe not the nicest comment, you know, when I see things that really make my blood boil, and I'm like, write it and then go to post it and then delete it. I'm like,
always going with the diplomatic, like political answer. Yeah. The one that's smart. Because that's what you want to come out of that conversation is like, if this went to court, who's going to win this argument? And when I went to go back to the comment of this geezer who had replied to me, deleted his own comment. So he'd obviously thought, this isn't worth the noise. Yeah. And he was right, it wasn't. Because I had a great reply ready for that.
You was ready and armed. Mate, it's such a broad subject. There's so much information to talk about. One last question as we think about wrapping up, just aware of the time here. What advice would you give to an 18-year-old Kieran Kevan that's just starting out, wants to build a social media brand? What would you do different? What advice would you give to someone just starting fresh today?
Well, to me, as an 18-year-old, don't do anything fucking different, because you were right the whole time. Nobody thought social media was going to slap the way it did, and it absolutely blew up, mate. So good job. But trust your gut would be the biggest thing I would say as well on social. Like, go with your instinct. Go out there and post for purpose, not for the sake of it. And don't let that over-analysis cause that paralysis. We all do it. I do it. My friends who have big social accounts do it. Don't let that happen. It's not that deep. Just post. Be consistent and keep working that algorithm. And it's that simple.
Yeah. Great advice. One last thing, mate, that I like to ask all of my guests that come on the podcast, if you don't mind being a little bit vulnerable and open and authentic for a minute. It's about mental health.
Okay.
A lot of people have, struggles today, especially with this topic being social media.
Yeah.
I find myself sometimes I'm so deep into the screen time. Yeah, I do get anxiety around it, and I do have to, I'll be like, I feel it coming on. I have to like literally turn the phone off and get a hold of myself, and just come off of it. But aside of that, people look at the guests on here, pedestalize people like you, other people that are in business, being successful, doing great things, big followings, all the rest of it. Never think that they're ever going to be able to do what you've done. Good looking guy. Got the body, got the beautiful girlfriend, right? Got the business. Do you yourself ever have any down days? Do you have any anxieties or mental health challenges from every now and then? Do you still get wobbles in life, or are you pretty happy and content day to day?
No, I'm fucking dead inside.
Get the tissues out.
But no, honest to God, yeah, of course. Yeah, massive lows, huge lows.
Do you still have imposter syndrome and feel like you...
Yeah, for sure. Like, I hate to carry on talking about it. Like, when I won that world championship, I remember laying in bed thinking, I'm going to get this taken off me in the morning, because they're going to say, like, this was wrong, or the points were wrong, and it's bullshit, and it wasn't. And... same for social. Like, you have huge highs in social, like you did with your video, and you post about your dad and it flies. Then you have huge lows and nothing does well for a long time, and you scroll and you see all this success and it's really hard. But we spend like 85% in our brains, in our minds, worrying about the things that never happen, which, when I found out that statistic, made me feel so much better. Because I was like, that is so true. I worry about so many things not happening, going wrong, being terrible, and it's never even happened. And like, what a monumental waste of time and energy. And the biggest thing as well is always remember to be present and enjoy the process, because it's never as good as the final destination. Competing taught me that, because the process, being with my coach, going through everything, going through the ups and downs, competing, being on stage, getting your name called out, going back and forth, traveling, having the fun, doing the sponsors, was never as good as just being like, yeah, here you go, here's the trophy. That's never as rewarding. Getting your name called out is great, but it's never as good as just being at home like, yeah, world champion now. The whole process is the roller coaster, which you will fight for and you'll crave again. And I think that's kind of what we look for when you're in business. Like, it's the fun of it, finding it out, and it's the next step. Always focus on your next step, not the whole staircase.
Yeah, great words of wisdom there, and it's so true. we all live in either a past that isn't even remotely accurate to what actually happened, because it's all just skewed memories of what we think went on, or we're living in fear of the present, of things that we think might happen based on something that we haven't even done yet. And very few of us actually live in the here and now. Like this moment is the only moment that's real right now.
Yeah.
And as I finish saying that, that moment's gone.
Yeah.
It's happened. It's gone. It can never come back. So just forget about that. It has
Yeah.
no consequence on anything that's going to happen today or in the next 30 seconds. So it's crazy to even worry about it, but we do.
That's just my phone's on do not disturb. You can see like the little moon on your watch when you put it on. I'm a big believer in doing that. Yeah. When you're about to do something, go on a date, go on a meal, be present with your family, put it on DND, whatever it is, even if it's horrible news, it can probably wait. Yeah.
There's nothing worse than seeing the phone, the couple at the dinner table, both on Instagram, scrolling. It absolutely kills me in the deepest part of my soul. And I used to, like, my ex, we'd sit down at a table, and I'd always say, is it all right if we, keep our phones in our bags? Yeah. And she'd agree. And then, 10 minutes into the meal, I'd be like, what's that guy's name? And she'd be like, oh, I'll tell you. Out would come the phone. Yeah. Before you know it, she's Googling. And I'm like, for fuck's sake.
You just don't need it.
It's such an addiction.
Be present. Be present.
Fantastic information. Great episode. So much knowledge there. Just to finish up, where can people reach you? What services do you have available? Is there any mentoring, coaching? Is there any social media services? I'm definitely going to be working with you on a bunch of different things. How can people contact you, and what do you have available?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. This has been a great convo. Glad we've both been present in this.
Yeah, very present.
You can find me on any social media platform, or just Google my name, Kieran, Kevan, and I will come up immediately. Feel free to DM me if you want to look for a social media consultancy, if you want to look for paid media, if you want to figure out your organic strategy, or just what you're going to post on Facebook tomorrow morning, feel free to reach out. And if you are looking for that six-pack, it can happen. And it can take less than 20 years.
That's the only reason I brought you in. I'm open. I give you the platform to come on and speak, and you can give me a six-pack in return. Make it happen. So guys, if you've got any interest in building your brand, social media, if you don't know where to start, I can absolutely vouch for Kieran. He's built some of the biggest brands that I can guarantee know of, that you see every day on your social media feed was down to this guy. So reach out, ask your questions, consider taking Kieran up on some consultancy or just an audit of your social medias that you currently have, because they're probably dog shit and can be massively improved, like I know mine can. So reach out, mate.
Much appreciated.
Fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for coming in, and thank you for everybody for listening and watching at home. And until next week, we'll see you then on another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast. Thank you. Take care.